Welcome back to the Align Podcast. Great to be with you again this week, where we bring you conversations that make you a better person, grow your life, and keep you aligned. I'm joined as always by my great co-host Lee. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are we doing?
I'm good, mate. How's your challenge going? Really excited to hear about that.
Yeah, it's really good. I've been nailing it, to be honest. Really enjoying it. I've upped it to, I'm doing now my cold plunges in the morning. I've missed a few tasks on a couple of days, but majority I've been absolutely nailing it.
Good.
And
Do you
loving
feel better
it.
for it?
Oh my God. Head's clearer. Just feel really good at the minute. Yeah. Got 10 days left.
Amazing.
10 days left. And then it's the event, which I still need to finalize what I'm actually going to say at the event, mate.
Dude, it's going to be, I'm really excited for the event, actually. I'm really excited. There's a couple of tickets left, so people who haven't got tickets.
Links
to the event,
below.
Make sure you come along. It's going to be extraordinary. Loads of great chiropractors in the room. Just speaking to some guys over in the States who've flown over from Iceland. Hopefully they're going to bring their practice across.
Nice.
So 7 chiropractors from Iceland. It'd be really cool to have them
cool.
join us. And some amazing speakers, including yourself, which I'm really excited about.
It's going to be my first talk.
It's cool, man.
First real one. So yeah, I'm excited, nervous, and just looking forward to it. It's going to be super chill talk from me though. I really want to interact with the audience and ask them where they are and what they're struggling with. I don't just want to talk at them. I want to actually speak to them and find out what they struggle with their online presence and really try and answer that as much as I can. So,
which I think is brilliant because it was really interesting on the weekend. So one that you tapped on the really important thing about public speaking is it should never be about you. It's always about your audience. Mm-hmm. A great book to read before you do any public talk for anyone out there is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. Really talks about how you can have that conversation. But in the States, on the first day, it was a 2-day event. On the first day, all the speakers were speaking about themselves. Like, come on. And you see the audience were quiet and switched off and reserved. The second day, all the speakers were speaking about the audience and the energy in the room lifted. And it was just an amazing place to be. So I think you'll bring huge value to it. And it might link in with what we're speaking about today.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of a talk this weekend.
Yep.
But it was really close group of family. At the beginning of 2021, we lost my uncle. But it's a bit of a weird situation when I say this, but I lived with him for my whole life. Don't know why this happened, but from a young age, it's my dad's brother, and my dad and my mum lived with him. And then weirdly, after my mum and dad broke up, he continued living with my mum. And so I've lived with him longer than I've lived with either my dad or my stepdad.
Yeah.
So it was a really important, he was like a huge influence in my life. He was like an old school Lincolnshire farmer, didn't give a shit what anybody thought of him, like real stoic, didn't abide by any COVID restrictions or anything. It was just like, fuck him, I'm living my life. And so I delivered his obituary because he meant so much to me. I'm the oldest of my siblings and he lived with us. So yeah, it was really cool. And I thought, or you messaged me saying, real interesting, what would you want people to say in your obituary? And we thought we'd just discuss it on the podcast.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I did this exercise years ago and I actually wrote what I want people to write on my obituary. And I should have looked at it actually. I've got it somewhere at home. But there was someone said something on the weekend. What would you do, or how would you live your life differently if you had a terminal illness? And everyone was quiet in the room and like, wow, how would I live differently? And then she said, oh, well, I've got news for you. All of you've got a terminal illness.
You have, yeah.
You know, we often don't think there's a finite time to what we have. And at the end of it, when people are looking back on what what your dot on the planet actually meant, what would you really want people to say? And it's really interesting because people won't necessarily talk about the flash things you had or the stuff that you accumulated. They think about what you stood for, what you achieved, the time you spent with them, how you were giving of your time. And I think I'd certainly like to be known for someone who actually stood for something and created a positive change in some way. And that's the main things that I would want to be known for.
Yeah, and it's the same with me. And when I think about it, automatically I think about family. But now that we're doing this podcast, like I would hope that it would be a little bit bigger. And I do think about death quite a lot. There's the I don't know if it was Stoic or Romans or Greek saying, but memento mori is like, remember you're going to die, basically.
Yeah.
Remember that you're mortal. And too many people, I think, don't. I think they just think, oh, I've got forever.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned on the time management episode about 30,000 days?
Yeah.
We're not here forever. We do all have a terminal illness, and it's called being a human. So yeah, I think try to remember that you're not going to be here forever. And there's a few ways to look at it, because I like what Alex Hormozy says as well. He's like, after you're gone, and this is like how he sort of framed it in his mind so that he could do what he wanted to do rather than what his dad wanted him to do.
Yeah.
After you're gone, within 50 to 100 years, or definitely within 3 generations, nobody's going to remember who you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, we want to live to leave an impact and make a difference in the world, but also don't let what people think of you hold you back, because in decades to come, like if you said to somebody, what's your great-great-granddad's name?
Yeah.
Very few people will be able to tell you.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. Maybe my great-grandparents. In fact, probably not even that. So yeah, there's different ways to look at it. Remember, you're going to die. Live to the fullest you can every single day. Try to make a difference and leave some sort of legacy. I'm not saying that means you shouldn't try, but also don't let what other people think hold you back, because
and I think that works 2 ways. So a legacy can be a huge legacy, which millions of people see, or a legacy can be a huge legacy of which your family sees.
Yeah.
And don't let, like you're saying, don't let other people, sway you either way. Like it's what you want. Like actually, what do you want to get out of this life that you had?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, I was speaking to a guy yesterday, an old school friend. And he's all about his family. Like he's all about creating time and experiences with his family. And I think that's brilliant. And I really want my kids to remember the times we had together. But I also want them to know that their dad stood for something. And the work that he did enabled them to have choice and them to have freedom and them to have health. And how that will pan out, I don't know. But I think that's the main drive and the main aim for what I want to be known for.
Yeah, and that's something that I think that we've lost, sadly, and we really need to get back. Is the generations before us did everything that they could to create a better life for the next generations, and it kind of
sacrificing their lives.
Yeah, totally, the ultimate sacrifice. But I sometimes feel like this generation, a lot of us only care about what we can get out of it.
But you see this all the time. I'm going to judge hard right now. You see this all the time. You walk down the streets, people pushing pushchairs, and they focus on the kids in front of them, or they're on their phones.
Yeah,
they're focusing on what they're enjoying in the moment.
Yeah, and
not really thinking about what they're creating or the experience or the impressions that they're putting upon.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Family.
Yeah, that's a big one. When you see people who are really out of shape, and you think that you are the number one example for that child. You are the one thing that they get to see and they work towards. Don't you want them to work towards something amazing? And the phones thing and throwing an iPad in front of your kids. And I know everybody, loads of people do it, and people hate when I say this because almost everybody does it.
Sarah and I were having that conversation last night. Like, our parents never had the opportunity to do that.
No,
never.
No. And I at the it was like we were burying the ashes at the weekend of my uncle, and I met up with a load of cousins who I've not seen for a long time. But when we was kids, we used to spend all of our time together, and we used to be like riding motocross bikes and jumping mopeds down. There was a place in Rugby called the Hills. And it was just, I don't know who did it, but it was just like dug out, and it was like massive like ramps and hills and stuff. And it wasn't meant for this, but we used to have like mopeds and scooters, and we'd like be jumping them out of this thing. And I was saying to them, like, we had it so good, and they've all got kids, and I plan to in the future. And I said to them, like, it's our responsibility to give that to our children and to allow them to experience that, because in this technologically advanced world that we're in and really moving into, we are going to lose that if we're not careful.
Yeah, and again, like you fast forward, like you won't really be known for anything. Like, what would that obituary say about you, who just sat in the corner and scrolled on your iPad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And if that doesn't bother you, what's the obituary of your children in years to come going to say if you don't teach them the morals and the values and the standards that they should have and that we were taught when we were coming up?
So I like what Ed Milet says. He talks about when he dies, he'll go to heaven and he'll meet himself.
What he could have been.
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
Just imagine if you were like, God created you to be this amazing person who did so much with their life. And again, it doesn't have to be this, like, society. As soon as we say this, society's already saying, oh, I have to be this super successful entrepreneur or this super successful film star. No, you don't.
No. Not everybody wants a podcast. Not everybody wants to earn. Yeah.
But you have to be someone who actually stood for something, someone who actually achieved something in their life, whether that is they were in the peak physical fitness and they're an example to others, or they showed others how to care and how to laugh and how to play. Like, what is it that you really do take ownership of every single day? Maybe
you don't want to be a podcast host that speaks to thousands of people, or maybe you don't want to be like a business tycoon or something. Maybe it is your family. Well, if it is your family, which a lot of people say, then act like it is your family. Because a lot of people just say, oh, well, what's important to me is my family. And then they look like shit and they've got iPads in front of their kids and they're not doing the things that their actions don't meet their words when it comes to their family. So, yeah, I mean.
And I suppose the nature of an obituary is that it's going to be a very close loved one or a family member who reads that. And that's what you do it all for, isn't it, I suppose? And just commit to it.
Yeah.
Like, why, you know, some of the people don't like to think about this, or they don't have this conversation, or they think it's a bit far out there, but actually think about it. Like, today isn't repeated tomorrow. It's not coming back.
No.
What do you want to be known for? What do you want to move towards? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah. And mine's similar to yours. I think it's important. It would be important to me for them to say that I stood by my morals and I stood my ground and I was there for my family and that I was just, really stood for something, I think. And I think we're probably going to get that chance.
I think we probably are. And, you know, a great obituary can come from a short life and a great obituary can come from a long life. But it's, like we say, it's taking daily, consistent actions, moving towards the purpose that you want.
Perfect.
Well, I look forward to hearing what people have to say. Or
let us know in the comments.
Comments below. Thanks for listening. Make sure you give us a like or a review. If you're listening on your podcast, make sure you go across to YouTube, sign up there, subscribe. Likewise, if you're on YouTube, go across to the podcast and give us a review. Really appreciate it. The show is growing. We look forward to seeing you at the event in probably a week's time when this goes out. And we may be doing a live recording on that day as well, which would be really cool. So we'd love to see you there if you're there in person. See you next time, Lee.
Thank you, mate.